My name is Reza. I'm working for Deutsche Telekom. I'm actually part of the HR organization, so my focus is more on the employees. My background is not fashion, but interesting enough, I'm quite excited to be here because during my student times, my parents went bankrupt, and by the time I got 18, I could sign contracts. They had the idea, let's sign our fashion stores. They had 3 ladies' fashion stores, retail stores, high street. Let's sign them under your name. So I had my first experience when I was 18, so ending school, coming to university with fashion. Let's say it didn't turn out to be super successful, and it was a true motivator to really speed up and get to work and gain the debts back. So that's my let's say, first experience with failure culture. I want to talk to you today about collaboration. And let me start with this one. What's the difference in between the ape and the human? The difference is exactly 1% in the gene pool. Is it shown there? Yeah. So it's 1%. 99% we share exactly the same ancestors, the same gene pool, the same, let's say, history for billions of years. But humans are running the world, not elephants, not apes. We run universities, not dolphins. We build streets, not ants where cars are on. You can find it good or bad, but that's the reality. We are the predominant species on this planet. So how come that the species which doesn't have the largest brain, which doesn't have the strongest muscles, which doesn't have the highest speed and velocity, how come that this species is running and managing the world? Again, you can find it good or bad, but that's the reality we're in. So 3 factors pay into that, which is language. We can, as a species, communicate with each other in different languages and give meaning to the reality and the fictional world. The second one is fiction. There's hardly any other species that can define a fictional reality. The fictional reality is about stories we tell, about myths we share, about lying to someone, about sharing values with each other, about reflecting our own identity or the identity of the organization we work with, to values we share and we want to pursue, like the fair downstairs with a specific value on sustainability, up to business strategies, to brand, to religion, to political ideologies, to business models. These are the world of fiction. And the third factor is we are the only species that can work literally over the whole planet in billions of numbers because we can create fiction. So collaboration is what is driving actually humanity and what is driving organizational performance. For an organization, we need to frame collaboration. We need a compelling direction, which is a business strategy. We need the supporting context, which are the frame conditions like workspace, like equipment, like working methods, like Uli was talking about design thinking and other stuff like that. We need the shared mindset, which means we have to agree on a set of norms and on behaviors, on do's and don'ts, how to interact with each other, how to communicate with each other, how to share success and failure with each other. And that drives team effectivity. Today is a lot about startups and about founders, and we work, for example, with Plug and Play. And the key driver for Plug and Play to select startups, number one, so let's say the killing factor is someone pitching as an individual or is someone pitching as a team? And the individuals are literally wiped out from the first moment, from the outset. So even in the context you work with, collaboration, teaming up together, performing as a team and showing team effectiveness is becoming a key factor even before any thoughts on technology. Why do organizations, by the way, not only organizations, why do nations have comparative advantages to each other? So what are major organizations doing with regards to promoting collaboration as a means for innovation and for performance? Number one is making as much as information in the organization as possible, as transparent as possible. The industrial world and power play in organizations was driven by keeping innovation, by keeping data, by keeping information, and by that defining your rule of status and your decision-making power within a corporation. The digital age shows that the new upcoming organization structures and the new upcoming sense for leadership is based on how many followers can I create? How many times are my ideas shared inside and outside the company? Transparency. Number one is balancing of power. So traditional corporations focus very much, there's a strong governance given by a CEO, there's a board, and then the typical hierarchical Tayloristic system starts. That is good for a certain purpose, but if we move on towards innovation, we see that the result of the $1 billion innovations of the last 10 years is not individual genius, it's a different way of collaboration in a different setting in the respective organizations and partnerships, which means we need to rethink how do we empower employees to speak up? How can we support employee and customer-driven innovation, not just as a buzzword, not just as a nice marketing campaign, rather than involving them into our corporate innovation process? We need to rethink how much do we allow non-industrial players to determine our way of innovation and our way of performing results towards the customer, which means we are in a very interesting phase from an organizational perspective that we change the identity and the nature of an organization to become what we call an inclusive entity, which means we are looking for organizations that are not hiring people that are similar, like the CEO, so the clone of this typical male myth, lonesome cowboy-oriented persona, rather than going into diversity in every aspect. And these inclusive entities, and by the way, not only entities and organizations, even if you go on a nation's level, where balancing of power, where having different people in a weighted atmosphere to speak up, to give recommendations, to give ideas, have a competitive advantage. What makes collaboration work? And what does it not make work? I want to focus on literally 4 things. It's if you think you are the leading expert in your area, in your industry, you have literally lost. The arrogance of expertism is the biggest preventer of collaboration and, by the way, of innovation. Same goes in line that if you think, okay, we have the great product, but the market wasn't ready for that. We have the strongest technology, but it's our supplier who is not aware of that. Our customers are maybe a little bit too stupid. So this ignorance of not knowing is the second preventer for collaboration. The more you think about it, companies that have started not to provide solutions, rather than to start first posing the right question and committing, we know nothing. We have to rethink our way of working. We have to rethink our business model, are the ones that turn out to be strongest in the long run. It's the acceptance of incompleteness. So we are not ready yet. There's always a next level. There's always the next level a team and an organization can achieve. And the 4th one is to promote a culture of teams. No individual awards. No lonesome cowboys, hero stories, I did that and I did that. Typically, as I said, it's always male stories, rather than promoting this is a team and awarding teams, which means for a big corporation, changing the way how you do compensation benefits, how you give individual or team-based bonuses? How do you set team-based targets and other stuff? And it means you need to find the right balance in between collaboration and teamwork. I invite you to look it up in Wikipedia or even watch the movie. I did my PhD in South Africa. That's why I'm kind of emotionally attached to the country. A great story how underrated by skills underperforming rugby team, only by the vision of uniting one country, having President Mandela behind it, going through, just having 2 years apartheid left, and then the captain of the team coming together, working as a leadership team together, have achieved in winning the World Rugby World Cup as a complete underdog in their own country. So the next level is bringing language, identity, values, brand together, rethinking who do we need for innovation inside the organization beyond the subject matter areas, and going into partnerships outside the industry, and how to boost your collaboration performance with going digital, going into a feedback culture, into an upward culture, and promoting the subject of working in teams where the counterpart is not the person you would like to drink a wine or go out and share a beer with, rather having people which are really stretching you and going out of your comfort zone. This is how we believe collaboration is becoming the new black. Thank you very much.
I like that one. But you have nice black shoes on.
I have black shoes,
yeah,
yes.
Black
correct.
shoes on,
yes.
definitely. As long as we both believe that it is black, if I understood you correctly, then this is black.
Correct,
right?
yes.
Okay, great. Can you tell us a bit more about this idea of the intersubjectivity? I really like that, and it really sets us apart from other animals. When we had our discussion, our pre-discussion on the phone, I told you that there is. Do you know this brick sold by Supreme? Have you seen that? Like they sell it on eBay for $500. $500 for a brick, just because it has the Supreme brand on it. What do you think are some interesting things about the intersubjectivity also in your organization? And how do you take care that everyone is aware of that?
Well, I think that's the nature of brands, and that's the premium that brands get, that people believe in the brand for whatever reason. But if you take that concept further ahead, you can see that I think the CDO from Otto mentioned that it's about culture. In culture, it's all about values. It's about what people believe in and how they want to work together. And if you can really stress that beyond a buzzword level, beyond nice posters that are put in every floor and elevator, really create a culture of trust, create a culture of collaboration, that drives innovation. So our equation is, the better the collaboration is, the more likely you get a successful customer-centric innovation out of it.
But you can only align those teams for collaboration if they share the same story, if they share the same values, and if they align to reach a specific goal that they have either formulated themselves or maybe
Correct.
formulated in the organization.
So they share the same stories, but it doesn't mean you have to rely on the stories from the past.
Yes.
So destructing your stories, creating new ones is as important and as vivid for every culture. And actually, you see it, companies that remain on old stories fail in the long run. We've seen it in the previous note. Yeah.
And I think when it comes to storytelling, then the fashion industry is a super good example. Maybe we just need to tell the next story, which is a bit more compelling than the recent story, and then the fashion industry is all set up for a successful future. Great, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reza.
Thank you.
Super interesting.